Good morning, Bill English here. Look, I'm so sorry I couldn't get there with the Queenstown weather, but you're an important group of people who are going to have a big impact on what happens in the New Zealand economy over the next 10 years. So I'd just like to talk to you about what the government's focused on relevant to the property industry. We take a positive view about New Zealand's success. We're a government who want to be open to trade, open to investment, open to migration, open to new exports, and open to the challenges that go with the growth that New Zealand's enjoying. We think that New Zealanders can handle success. We want to be a government that is pushing to invest to support the growth of our economy, and we don't agree with the view of our political opponents that New Zealand should slow down, that it's time for a breather, and that the country should go at the pace that the opposition can keep up with. As you know, this is all having a big positive impact for the construction and property industries and all the support industries that go around them. I mean, we now have the biggest pipeline of construction out ahead of us that pretty much that New Zealand's had in our lifetime. House building has picked up pretty rapidly. We're seeing a big pipeline of infrastructure to support that, ranging from the Auckland Transport Plan through to the Housing Infrastructure Fund that will be announced in the next few weeks, all of which is aimed to enable more housing to be built to meet the demand of a growing economy and growing population. Of course, this is all pretty complex to achieve, and we've focused very strongly on the range of policies needed. Probably the single most important thing in the housing market has been the new Auckland Unitary Plan, which for the first time in 30 years enables Auckland to grow, and much of the activity that's going on now follows on from that. There's been a range of government initiatives, special housing areas, big amendments to the RMA that are just going through. The government house building program, 34,000 houses in Auckland just on the land that the government already owns, and we'll be able to pick up the pace of that with the commitment now of finance and planning and close cooperation with the Auckland Council. We've also tried to deal with some of the really challenging issues for councils. We've got work coming along, for instance, about building liability, which is going to reallocate the liability around building, we would hope, in a way that means councils can be a bit less conservative, but also make sure everyone understands the responsibilities that go with delivering high quality building. This is all going to need a workforce, and that is why we need to get the balance around migration, because we need the skills to build the houses, to build the infrastructure. We can't just shut it all down, shut down the flow of people and expect the work still to be done. That just can't work. So this is all a positive view about where New Zealand is going, and it's great to see the property and construction industry responding to that positive view with increasing investment and sophistication. We're keen to work with the property industry to continue to focus on ironing out the problems we think getting in the way of making progress. We're also keen to work with our councils. I think central government now has a much better understanding of what role councils play, which of course is absolutely critical. Nothing gets built without a council agreeing to it. And of course their decisions, they are starting to understand that their decisions have a big impact on the market, on the availability of land, on the speed at which building and construction can occur, and on the price and cost of housing, and particularly affordability for our low and middle income families. Government's going to continue to support the subsidy of our housing market. In particular, we spend a couple of billion every year on direct subsidies. We subsidise 60% of all rentals, and of course own 68,000 houses out there in the rental market. Now in the long run, of course, we'd like to see the gap close up between property prices and incomes, and that's going to be a strong focus over the next few years. So alongside the exciting opportunities in construction and infrastructure and housing, we've got the opportunity to review our whole planning process and environmental impact process. And it's great to see a broad consensus that after 25 years, New Zealand's changed, the pressures have changed, and so the combination of the RMA, the Local Government Act, Land Transport Act, need to be rethought so that we can get better matching of supply and demand, which will reduce the strength of these property cycles and the dangers that come with it, and ensure that we get high environmental standards that are consistent with Kiwi expectations. So it's great to see the industries, various parts of the industries getting together to talk about this future. I just think today, if a young Kiwi decides to take up an apprenticeship or to move into the property business or get into design and planning, they've got the best opportunities in a generation now, because we have out ahead of us a long, consistent pipeline of work that simply has to be done, and the opportunity to make New Zealand a country that can successfully grow, be confident of its place in the world, and provide opportunities for every single person who's in this country. Thanks.